Hello, this video is a presentation about domain and range. Yesterday I briefly mentioned both domain and range. Domain is the allowable x values. Domain are the x values. If you look at a graph of a function or a relation, doesn't matter, the x values that are graphed or used is the domain. The range is the y values. What we're going to do today is just look at the graph and determine from the graph what is the domain, what is the range. What are the x values used? What are the y values used? So we're going to start with a line. Looking at my line here, I see that it goes on forever and ever. If you visualize beyond the graph, as x gets larger, this graph is moving to the right. It's also moving up. So the x values continue to get larger, the y values continue to get larger. As you go down the left, x values are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. The y values are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. For this, the domain, and we'll call this line, kind of give each one a name. The domain is all real numbers. Oops. Imagine that says numbers. The range, all real numbers. Now, what happens if we looked at a horizontal line? Looking at the horizontal line, and I'll label that horizontal line. Horizontal line. The domain, and again I abbreviate domain capital D, all reals. And you really don't even have to say numbers. The range, it's a little bit different. If I look at every point on this line, this point here, that point there, that point there, that point there, that point there, that point there. All the points on that line have a y value of -2. The range is y equals -2. The only y value on that graph is y equals -2. Let's look at a vertical line. If we see our vertical line here, vertical line, we see that the domain, whether I look at this point or this point or this point, why won't it give me a point? If you look at these points, A, B, C, and D, they're all x coordinates of 2. The domain is x equals 2. The y value, on the other hand, goes up and up and up and up forever, down and down and down and down forever. The y value, or the range, is all real numbers. All real numbers. And just to reiterate from Friday, this is not a function. All right, let's look at something a little more interesting. I'm going to draw a circle. Okay, here's my circle. Now I know it doesn't look like a circle, but if you look from point A to point B, the radius is 2. If you look from point A to point C, the radius is 2. Doesn't matter where you go, the radius is 2. It looks funny because the scale on the x-axis and the y-axis is different. Now the domain of this relation is a little bit different. What I'm going to do, imagine sliding a piece of paper across the graph. I'm going to slide, I'm going to slide this green shaded area till I hit the graph. All my x values are greater than 0. I'm going to slide the other green one to the right, on the right side, till I hit the graph. As soon as I hit the graph, well, you can see about where I am, I stop. So I can see on my circle that x has to be bigger than 0, x is greater than or equal to 0, less than or equal to 4. All right? All my x values, everything for the graph is left at 4 and right is 0. You can duplicate this idea with pieces of paper on your graph. Now, let's look at the y values. I'm going to slide, or not, I'm going to slide okay, problem resolved. I'm going to slide this pink line up until I hit the graph. All my y values are above 1. I'm going to slide the blue one down until I hit the graph. All my y values are less than 5. So I come over here, y has to be greater than 1, greater than or equal to 1, less than or equal to 5. Okay, so my domain, x is between this, my range, y is between that. Let's look at a different one. Okay, our last example here. No, we'll do one more after this. This example, I'm going to look first of all from point C through B and A. I can see I can see that my y values, my x values are all less than 2 here. They're not equal to 2, they're less than 2. So if we're starting, my domain, x, has to be less than 2. All right? It's not equal to 2. I'm going to add to this in a minute. My range, I look at coming down here, the y values have to be less than 1. And they continue forever and ever. This keeps going down. So my range, my y values, are less than or equal to 1. So now, let's move these back up. And I meant to draw a line here. So, or not a line, but a segment. These were supposed to be joined. Now I look at this, I see that I also have this segment, all right? And I can see that the segment goes from here to here. So now I'm going to move this over, and I can see that all the x values are less than 4, and I can see all the y values are greater than 3. So x can be less than 2, and x can also be greater than 3 or equal to, and less than or equal to 4. All those values are allowed. On my range, y is less than or equal to 1. That starts from here and going down. And y also has a value of 2. Why 2? Well, if I look at this, right here, right here, right here, anywhere I am, the y coordinate is 2. So y is equal to 2. All right, one last super quick example. Our last graph here is a parabola. Now, I see here, if I go up and up and up and up, x is going to the right constantly forever. Y is going to the left forever. The domain, this one I'll label the parabola. The domain, all real numbers. The range, I see that y is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Y is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But I also see that if I raise this up, I don't have any y values until I come across here to 2. So my range is all the y values greater than or equal to 2. I hope this helps explain domain and range. Please take the online quiz, and this should be done before Monday. Thank you, and have an awesome weekend.